if you're going to do whatever it takes to hit your goal or settle for less than you know that you're capable of. That's pretty disappointing, right? Like to know that you can do it, but accept that you didn't. I hope that's not you today. I don't think it will be. The day, Friday, that is, that you can go a little bit later, start a little bit sooner, and push a little bit harder because you know that you've put in the time all week and now the system owes you. The kind of day that you've heard, and you'll soon find out the biggest premium can be written, and most importantly, the biggest moral victories can be achieved. I talked about it yesterday that sometimes the smallest applications created the biggest moral victories, and that's okay. And in the middle of it all today, I also don't want you to forget that you can't control what they do. You can simply only control what you do. You can't control if they buy. You can't make them be home. You can't create a bank account for them. Well, you shouldn't, that is. And you can't make someone with one leg and a NetSpend card into a quality client. What you can control is what you do with these next 10 hours in front of you. And I'm confident that when you do that, you'll come out ahead at the end of the week. Next, before I get into Adam's segment today and the concept that he created and wants to announce today, I wanted to provide you a quick tip for the weekend. The week's not over yet, but we won't be talking again until Monday. So I wanted to provide you a quick tip for the weekend. I want to encourage you over the course of Saturday and Sunday to start looking ahead to April. Look at your calendar right now. I'm going to pull it up on my computer while I've got 6 different devices going on in front of me. April's not that far away. You've got a full week next week, a weekend, a holiday weekend nonetheless, and then you're right smack into April. I want you to take a look over the course of Saturday and Sunday at what you want to accomplish in April. Get your schedule in order now. I know some of us have young kids and spring break and days off of school. Review the days that you might need to take off, the days that you might need to be flexible with, the days that you need to adjust around or add back in. You know what I'm talking about, right? You know this. No one's going to clock you in or clock you out of your workday but yourself. And you're not going to clock yourself in or clock yourself out if you don't create a schedule. So make sure over the course of this weekend, you know what you're going to be doing in April. And after you've established the schedule that you're going to work and the days you can't and the days that you will, review your budget. Like, how much money do you need to make in the month of April to be successful, sustainable, to survive? What are your bills going to be? And once you've established your bills and your budget, write down your financial goals for the month of April. And then lastly, your lead plan. Are you on a weekly reoccurring direct mail order? If so, awesome. If you're not, are you getting digital leads from one of our digital lead sources, the digital beneficiary lead or leads from Insurance Toolkit? If you're not doing one of those, direct mail or digital, then what you're doing is simply lying to yourself, and maybe you need to take Saturday and Sunday and do some self-assessment. Whatever path you choose, as much as March isn't over yet, I want you to be thinking one step ahead. We fall victim in this industry to a lot when it comes to the one-call close mentality. It creates a lot of small thought and makes us think about what's only right in front of us. But successful long-term businesses need a bigger vision besides what's right in front of their face. Put together what you want April to look like for you now, and guess what will happen? It'll succeed. So I want to encourage you to focus in for the next 20 minutes or so. Adam's got a concept he mentioned to me, I believe, yesterday that I think is exciting, is motivating, and is rewarding for those that institute it. Creative, simple, and the kind of thing that I think some of us will really enjoy taking part in. So I'm going to turn the call over to Adam as he discusses this new concept and anything else that he wants to tackle with today's call.
Hey, good morning, Chris. I just wanted to, one night I was just sitting around thinking this week, I go back and listen to the podcast after we record. And of course I do some of the editing and that. So was listening to the one that I did solo last Friday when you were on vacation. And this was the training, our call last Friday, talking about just doing whatever it takes to succeed in business. And I started thinking a little bit, and I was thinking, why don't we start like as a part of the weekly segment on Fridays, uh, almost like I guess we can call it like a whatever it takes challenge, where agents, not only our agents, but any agents that are in our Facebook group, anybody else who even knows about it, I'll promote it all over the place. They can submit a story of what they did to accomplish a sale, or just anything that they did throughout the week where they felt like they gave it whatever it took to make that sale. We talked about like the examples that I gave last week. And even like this week, I know one of the guys in the Facebook, I'm sorry, not the Facebook, in our group meet chat posted about how the person, they didn't know their bank account information. So they drove them to the bank to get the account information in order to make the sale. To me, that's doing whatever it takes to make the sale. So just any sort of little thing like that you can think of, you'll be able to submit. We're going to have like a form that you can submit your story, or you can be nominated. Anybody that knows you, or heck, if me and Chris, one of our agents, we kind of know what they did throughout the week, and we feel like they should be in the mix. That can be added as well. And then depending on how many are submitted, Chris and I will probably go through maybe like the top 3. And then people will be able to vote on who they feel was like the winner for the week of the whatever it takes challenge. And the winner is going to receive a full week of appointments set for them through the services that we've put together. And also they're going to win a future spot on one of Chris and I's podcasts, where we'll interview the agent. We'll kind of talk about what they're doing and what they did to accomplish those sales. So just a little added incentive. I mean, I talk about forever how all I ever did was door knock leads. And I'd say about maybe a year ago, a little over a year, I started doing what Chris does with the appointment setting, and it makes a huge difference. I used to have the mindset of what's the point of having an appointment set, because they're probably not going to be home anyways. But I kind of changed my mindset on that. And I mean, a good portion of them are home. Every once in a while, I'll run into some that are no-shows, but I think just having that structure throughout the day makes a big difference, where you have your whole schedule set up for the day. And I think even if someone wins the challenge for the week and they have their appointments set through us for an entire week, I think they'll also realize what good that does, and how many more people are going to be able to see on a regular basis, and how many more people they're going to be able to get in front of. So now with that, the agent, they are going to have their own leads that they'll be able to send over to our appointment setters to set the calls for them, but we'll fill up their whole week for them. And then, like I said, and then we'll also put them on the podcast. So just a little something I wanted to add to like I said, like what we do every Friday. But I think that it's just something too that'll push people to get out there and even maybe give it a little bit of extra effort throughout the week. If they know that at the end of the week, there's a chance that following week, they won't have to worry about paying for their appointments if they're already using us for their appointments, or it'll at least give them a shot to try it out, see what they think, and see if they might want to continue with calls in the future. So that was really all on that. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, Chris.
No, I think it's pretty awesome that we're going to open that up to folks that haven't prepaid to be on the program. Hopefully you can hear me okay, as we're working with a couple different tech things right now. I think it's awesome that we have the ability to offer that to people where it was pretty unheard of in the past. Do you have any times this week where you feel like you really did whatever it took to get the business written, to get out the door, to get in front of people? an example of what you feel like was a whatever it takes moment for you this week?
You know, I was thinking about it honestly. I mean, my week was pretty cut and dry. I mean, I really didn't have any sales that really stood out. I guess maybe one. There was one that I wrote that it was a lady that I talked to maybe 3 weeks ago, and uh, well, actually, it was a prosperity case. She was 54 years old. She was turning 55 a week later, and their product now it starts at age 55. So that one, I wasn't able to write it the first visit. I ended up going back last week, and she couldn't meet with me, so I showed up. She couldn't meet with me that day, had to reschedule, and a lot of times, I think agents will feel like maybe the person's just kind of blowing them off in those sort of scenarios, and they're just not ready yet. But I rescheduled it for this week and ended up showing up, and she was home, and I wrote it. So, I mean, it was the third visit before I wrote it. I guess maybe you could consider that doing whatever it takes. I mean, I just again, usually we're when we're writing business, it's like a one-stop close, and the chances of ever going back are usually pretty slim. But I mean, that was one that it was a pretty good sale. It was worth going back, and she was there. So yeah, but like I said, I mean, overall, I mean, I would look more at like I said, like the one agent I know, Matt, who took the agent, or I'm sorry, took the client to the bank to get their account information. Like that's doing whatever it takes. Um, and little things like that is kind of like what I think what we're looking for when it comes to like what someone else would consider that maybe giving it that extra effort when it came to making a sale, or like I said last week, even working a lead that was 8 months old and making a sale on it, or trying 8 times to reach that person and finally getting them where many agents might have given up too soon. So just little things like that, I think, would be considered examples of doing whatever it takes to succeed and to write that business.
I agree. You wrote a prosperity case, and I know one of your guys in Illinois did the same yesterday as well. Great carrier when it comes to direct express, great carrier when it comes to true Social Security billing, great option to make sure that you're leaving the home with an instant decision. I know Prosperity was one of our favorites years ago. Maybe not as popular today as it was before, but can you talk about using Prosperity for direct express type situations and the process, and a little bit about that product while we've got a few minutes this morning?
Yeah, it was actually a graded case. I think she had like systemic lupus or something like that. It was a graded case with them. But yeah, she had the Direct Express card, and I was using Great Western really for majority of my Direct Express business, but then they did away with it. So was looking for another avenue when it came to writing that business. I don't think it's bad business. A lot of people are just kind of set up that way these days. They get their card. I mean, honestly, heck, if I had a debit card sent to me, I'd probably just be using that too. I mean, I don't do much with. I mean, these days it's not like you have to go to the bank for anything. Everything's pretty much you can do online and everything else. Um, but anyways, yeah, I mean, the Direct Express, not many places take it. Prosperity does. And their process honestly seemed a little bit easier than the last time I wrote a piece of business with them. I remember the last time I wrote a piece of business with them, and this was only maybe, I mean, it'd been a little while, maybe I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months ago. It's been a while. But I remember like then I had to like scan the person's driver's license, like take a picture of it. You had to submit it. You had to use like the mobile aptical app to be able to like do all that stuff. It was kind of a pain in the butt, honestly. And so now it was a lot easier. I mean, I had to type in the person's driver's license number. I didn't have to do any sort of phone verification. It gave me the decision at the end, and the signature process. All the person had to do was they would receive a text message, and they just had to read me the code back. And there were like two separate parts of the application where that needed to be done. Like the first one, I think, was when like they want the person to look over all of the different disclosures and stuff. So they get a text for that, and they just had to give you the code. And then at the end, when they're signing to commit to taking out the policy. So yeah, it was pretty easy process, and I got the decision at the end, which was nice, and that was pretty much it. So yeah, I think there'll be a good avenue to take when people have that direct express business that needs to be written.
Well said. I remember last week while I was climbing through some crazy treehouse in Disney, which I guess that's fun. To me, it felt like going to war more than it felt like going to a vacation. You were talking about ethics in whatever it takes. And that really resonated with me. The fact that doing whatever it takes doesn't mean pushing the envelope into doing what you shouldn't be doing. I remember you talking about if it didn't feel right, don't do it. Can you kind of repeat that chapter of your training last week as well, in case somebody that's on today's call missed last week? Because doing whatever it takes doesn't mean doing what's wrong. It means doing what's ethical just as much as it is.
Well, yeah, I talked about how if you're not doing things the right way, it's going to it can lead to long-term consequences. Like I said, people maybe are looking to make that quick sale. You make a quick sale, you make some quick money. Well, if you're not doing it the right way, I mean, like I said, short-term gains, long-term consequences. It's just things that you don't want to be doing. I mean, we look at this as a career. We look at this as something that we're looking to be a part of long-term. Well, why would we want to put our career in jeopardy doing things that we're not supposed to be doing? And why would someone want to do stuff that way to, end up out of the business where, I don't know, God, if I wasn't in this business, I don't know what the heck I'd be doing. I mean, I'd probably have to go back to school or something. I mean, this is all I've ever done. So, I mean, I would never want to put this in jeopardy, because that would be putting a lot in jeopardy for me, my entire livelihood. So, it's important to just do stuff the right way. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it.
Well said. Oh, we're talking also earlier in the call today about the fact that April isn't that far away. It's a week and then a holiday weekend. And before you know it, we're going to be smack dab in the middle of April Fools. What are you hoping to accomplish in the month of April? Or what suggestions would you make to an agent to make sure they accomplish their goals in the month of April?
Well, one thing I'd be looking to accomplish myself is just, I've really enjoyed the local base and taking guys out and working with them. And my goal for April would be to find some more people to be able to get in the car with me, take them out and work with them, and, really starting to want to build and grow that. So that's really my goal for April, is to have someone in the car with me when I'm out running leads. I like having people out with me when I'm running leads. I almost feel like it even pushes me even a little bit harder when I have someone in the car with me. There's a lot less downtime when I'm out training somebody. You don't really have time to sit around and go through emails. Every once in a while, sometimes you get caught in that email loop where you might look at your phone for a second and then you're looking at all the emails, and it's a distraction. But when you're out with somebody all day, like I said, a lot less downtime, a lot more getting out of the car right away and getting in front of people. So I like having people out with me. But it's a great opportunity what we have going, and really trying to build it and expand it. So that's my goal. And the guys that I already have here local, I mean, I know that we're looking to really step up the production. I mean, their production is growing every week. So I think that they're all going to have a really good April as well. So really just kind of looking forward to that, setting some goals for myself and the local base. And looking forward to a big April for sure.
It's one of those months where there's a lot of stuff going on with kids and families and vacations and breaks and days out of routine. What would you suggest to the personal producer who needs to be successful even in the midst of some schedule variations in the month of April?
Well, figure out ways to make up time. If you're taking off, well, figure out ways to make up that time. So if you're taking off even for a whole week, well, maybe you got to work a little bit later, start a little bit earlier the next week, or maybe you'll have to end up maybe working on a few Saturdays throughout the month if you're taking off for an entire week. So just a matter of figuring out, we talk about I mentioned this too last week or on my training on Monday. I used to always talk about how you need to work at least 40 hours a week, kind of change the tune to that of do whatever it takes to sit down with 15 people every week. So figure out a way to sit down with 15 people. If that means you're taking vacation and your normal work week is off a little bit, well, you got to figure out a way to make up for that and still be able to sit with that many people that week, or try to sit with that many more people the following week.
Good point. I think sometimes we forget that we're not bound by a 9 to 5 type environment. There's no set open and close hours. I prefer everyone start at the end of the call, but no one says you got to be done at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, or heck, 8 o'clock. Do what you need to do to put yourself in front of the people, even if that means there's some schedule variations in your April you wouldn't expect. Adam, I got 1 or 2 more questions to go. Then we're going to go out there and close this day and this week strong. Do you feel like most agents have a budget, a family budget, a personal budget, a budget that they operate on?
I think so. I would hope so. If you don't, I don't know. You got to be somewhat organized in this business because, well, when we're purchasing leads, you got to always have money set aside for leads. You got to set money aside for taxes. And I think it's important to put a plan together, figure out, like we've talked about, setting goals. You set a goal of how much money you need to make, how much money you want to make. I always say, look towards the future of things that maybe are coming up, where maybe you're going to need even more money, or just setting goals of where you want to get in the future. You don't want to just always be working, like you could almost say paycheck to paycheck, but it can feel that way even in this business, where each week you're just making enough money to get by. You want to get to the point where you're doing a lot more than just that. So that's where I think it's important to set goals for the future, set money aside, save some money too.
Well said. I think it's important that you have a budget, you have an accountant, you have a financial advisor. And if you don't have any of those things, you reach out to us in leadership and we kind of point you in the direction of who to talk to and how to create it. I saw a Facebook or a social media post recently of an organization of these guys that have written, I don't know, 20K in a week. Well, that's awesome. Congratulations to them. But if they don't have a financial plan, if they don't have an emergency account, a tax account, an accountant, a strategy, then they're going to be stuck in that proverbial loop for the rest of their career. I talked to a guy that is a great final expense agent that I knew years ago, and he's still doing the exact same grind that he did in 2016. You know what that tells me, Adam? He's not getting ahead. He's got very little residual renewal income. He hasn't grown a significant organization. At some point, we have to think bigger than what's right in front of our face. And I know that's difficult because, like I opened the call in saying, when you get in front of someone, your job is to close that somebody. But when you're operating a business, as if Shannon said earlier this week as well, you got to think bigger, have a vision, have a plan for April to be successful. And if you don't plan, you're actually planning to fail. So appreciate you guys being here today, either on our call or on a live stream, however you ingested this information today. Remember, end the week with a positive note, end the week with a productive note, end the week with a profitable note so that you can carry that mentality into the weekend and into the week ahead. Take care, and we'll see you again Monday morning.
Let's see. All right. Yeah, that works pretty well. The